Hello, welcome everybody. I'd like you to meet Tonia. And Tonia, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Tonia, and thank you, Francesco. I'm really looking forward to this interview and talking to you. We've been going back and forth on Twitter and, have had a lot of good conversations. And so I'm really excited about this. But I'm Tonia. My last name is Hayes, and some people know me as T Trades on TradingView. And also my Twitter name is T Trades, TEATRADES.
Great, thank you very much. So introductions over, and I'm going to ask you my first question tonight, which is, so we've had a few conversations, and one of the things that I was interested in asking you about was the USIC competition, and if you'd like to tell us about that and why you'd like to be possibly sort of entering the competition and winning it. So tell us a bit about how the idea of doing that came about.
That's probably going to be a long ways off, but what I like about the USIC is when I want to learn from someone, from a trader, I want somebody who is going to share their stats, or they're going to have a audited stats, because I want to know that they really can trade or whatever. So that's one of the things that I appreciated about you when I, saw you on Twitter or whatever, was you shared your stats. And I think it's really important to put yourself out there. And especially if you're teaching people or whatever, it's good to, that you're willing to share your track record. And, and everybody's track record's going to be different, because we all have different things going on in our life. I know one girl who was a trader and her mother died. So she quit trading for a year. And if somebody looked at that track record, they would say, oh, she's not a good trader. So it's not all about, I don't think it's all about you being, you having this terrific profit statement.
Yeah.
But it's about just being willing to be open, and a teacher should be held accountable. So anyway, if I really want to put myself out there and teach, I would like to compete and let people see my record that's audited. And does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, totally. And
So I'm shooting for maybe 2024. I can't say that it will happen or not, because I mean it's pretty grueling, that competition, from what I hear. And you're up against the best of the best in that competition, and people are doing a lot of things to win. And I don't really, I've never traded on margin, so that may be something I have to learn between now and 2024.
okay.
So I don't know if I'll win it, but just being in it, they say, will be a very good experience, and it will actually take my trading to the next level.
Okay. And do you mention, because there are sort of different divisions you mentioned, so can you sort of explain a bit about that and how that works?
I'm probably not the one to explain all that, because I haven't studied it that closely, but I know that there's an individual investor division, then there's $1 million fund manager division, and so a lot of different divisions like
Okay.
that. So I would be in the individual investor division.
Okay. And so you can so leverage is allowed up to whatever is safe for you, whatever you choose to leverage, you can.
I haven't studied all the rules. I just have studied the winners.
Okay.
And
That's
I've actually taken classes from some of the winners. And so Oliver, oh gosh, I can't think of his last name right now. It'll come to me. But of course, Mark Minervini, David Ryan. David Ryan's son is in it this year, and he's doing very well. 2021, the winner was Oliver. Oh, can't think of his last name. Oh, well. And then Mercuso, he did really well. I mean, so any of these guys that have been in it, I listen up to what they have to say, because
okay.
they put themselves out there.
That's fine. I mean, thank you very much. And you mentioned that you'd like to sort of be the first woman to win it. Is that's because the contest hasn't been running for a long time, or
Well, it's so
because
funny. It's funny because I'm not the only person who has said that. I happened to be in a training class the other day, and one of the ladies, I don't know who she was, but she said, "I want to be the first woman to win the USIC." So it's not a novelty that I would make that statement.
yeah, I guess it's hard to know. I mean, some of these competitions are you go to the results and it's just you know sort of names or avatars, so you don't really know who the people are. If there's a winner, they'll reveal who they are. But if you look at the stats, it's just names, and a lot of them are not gender names. They're just sort of Ivory Tower 75 or something. I just no idea who they are. So it's kind of hard to know as well who they
Well, I
really
haven't
are.
seen that. I haven't seen that, but I have a friend that wants to be in it too, and he will have to be in it as an alias
Okay.
because of his job, he cannot
Mm.
advertise who he is. So
Yeah.
some people probably do that to keep their identity, but there's a lot of people who I recognize that are in it this year.
Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah, David Ryan, Sean Ryan being one of them.
So, does that's sort of the idea of a competition, but in terms of your own trading, let's go back a step, Tonia. So, you were saying that you've been in the markets since the sort of late 90s and kind of starting as a fundamental sort of an investor, essentially, as we say, and then moving on to kind of more technical trader, kind of swing trader. And can you tell us a bit about that journey in your words?
You're breaking up a little bit.
Oh,
Can you hear me?
yes, I can.
The video is pausing a little bit, Francesca. Okay. I hope you can hear me, but basically, I was forced to learn about investments. I've always had an interest, and my husband left a company where he had been contributing to a plan, and his company had been matching. And all of a sudden, when he left the company, we had this decision to make to roll it over or to let the broker continue to manage it. And at that point, I decided I wanted to manage it, but I didn't know anything. I didn't know a whole lot. I mean, I knew what a stock was, but I didn't know anything about mutual funds or anything like that. So I had to learn those things. And I had a neighbor who was a trader, but he discouraged me from trading. He wanted me to learn the fundamentals first. So he sent me to the National Association of Investment Clubs. And back then, the trading fees were very high. So, you had to probably have a lot of money to be able to handle the fees. And so he led me, I felt like he steered me. I was young. So I felt like he steered me in the right direction because I learned about dollar cost averaging and, small, mid, and large cap funds and international funds and how to diversify and all that common wisdom or popular wisdom in the fundamental trading world. And so he did steer me in the right direction. And then from there, we went through the 2000 crash. And after that, I was very busy raising my children. So we hired a manager to manage our money for a while. And then from that point on, I went to work in HR for a family business. And when I did, I handled the employee benefits. And part of that was choosing our managers, that managed our program. And so I had to pick managers and things like that. And then I also had to convince the employees that it was the wise thing to do to invest in their simple IRA with the company match. When I started there, I think we only had one or two employees, or maybe 2% of our employees were contributing. And when I finished, it was 99% of the employees contributed to our investment plan.
Okay. Great. So a real insight into investment, but also investment in the traditional sense of planning for your retirement, essentially, um, and sort of having people relying on you or sort of taking your advice, in that sense. So that's kind of a really interesting route as well. And then what sort of moved you from there to kind of trading your own money?
Well, during right after the crash, the 2007 or 2008, early 2009, uh, I want to say, what do we call that? The great. You got to help me here. Hold on.
The great
The mortgage
financial.
crisis. Okay.
Yes,
The
yes,
mortgage crisis, bear market.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah. The great financial crisis, whatever we called it.
yeah,
There's always a name for them, right?
yeah.
So anyway, right after that, my sons were into technology, and it was interesting because it was IT, internet technology. My internet connection is unstable. Is that on my end? I don't know what's going on here. Can you hear me well?
Yeah, I'm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it said my internet connection, and then you're breaking in and out. So sorry
Okay.
about that if I
No,
don't
no,
hear your
that's all right.
questions
That's okay.
completely. But IT did really well. And I happened to, because of my sons, they would tell me about this company or that company. And I ended up in a lot of IT companies, and it was just good timing. So I did really well. And then my mother retired. We closed the family business, and it was the 30-year business, but we closed that, and I had to figure out something to do. So I went into medical exercise, and all this time I was managing our accounts. And then we also had a manager that was managing one of our accounts. And my husband told me, he said, if you outperform them, we're going to take that money from them and you're going to manage it. And so I outperformed them. And so I ended up with 5 accounts to manage,
Wow.
all of our accounts. And probably around 2017, my son started talking to me about Bitcoin.
Okay.
And I thought he was nuts. And I, kept thinking, oh, he'll learn, he'll learn. He's going to lose all his money, and, it's going to be the biggest lesson he's ever had, and, so forth. And, but he wouldn't leave me alone. And then one time we were in Texas, and he was trying to explain the blockchain to me. And it was, I mean, my eyes would just roll into the back of my head. So we went to Texas, and he and a friend went out and had a pizza. And when they got back, one had paid cash for the pizza, and the other one took his little Coinbase app or whatever and paid him. And that's when it dawned on me. I thought, oh, this really could be a form of currency in exchange. So I need to look into this. So I just went into my TD Ameritrade and typed in Bitcoin, and this GBTC came up, which is a fund or investment trust in the that's listed, and it's owned by the brothers. What are they? Winklevoss twins. So anyway, I started looking into it, and I thought, well, I'm just going to throw a little bit of money at it. I'm going to take, I always learned, if you go into something risky, only take a certain percentage of your portfolio, a very small percentage. So I think I took 1 to 2% of my portfolio and threw it at GBTC. Mm-hmm. And the next thing I know, it went from like $300 to $1,200 in like a few months. My timing was impeccable. I mean, I couldn't have had better timing. So then I started studying Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. And so I ran across all these kid traders, and they were all showing the technical analysis and charts and things like that. And so I started learning more about technical analysis. And then the crash came, or the bear market of 2020, the COVID crisis. And lost quite a bit of money, saw my account go way down. And I thought there's got to be a way to time the market. I had always been taught you cannot time the market. But I was thinking, I'm too old to watch 20 to 30% of my account go away.
Yeah.
And so that's when I started saying, there's got to be a way. There's got to be a way. And I was a little depressed when 2020, when that crash hit, and I saw our account go down about 20 something percent, and it may have been 30% at the time. It bounced back real fast, but at that time I was still somewhat of a buy and hold investor when it came to the equities and stocks, and I didn't know proper risk management at the time. But I picked up Stan Weinstein's book and learned about stage analysis and how stocks go through cycles and go through stages. And so I started realizing from his book, you can time the market. You can get out of the market when it's rolling over into a stage 4 downtrend. And so I started delving more and more into that. I started reading Jesse Livermore, William O'Neill, and Mark Minervini's books. All of his books are fantastic. And started studying risk management, placing proper stops and things like that. So that was a turning point.
So quite a journey, really, going from that sort of early, also the belief in yourself. Most people come through that in different ways. It could be an early win, or something amazing happens with their trading, or they follow a system that works for a while, or they have just a break. Everybody needs a break after trying to, or they manage accounts for somebody initially not really promising anything, but they see they're doing well, as you've done, managing accounts, and from sort of family perspective. And that's also a safe way to do that, which not everybody gets a chance to do, and all the time. And as you say, if you've got, and that's another interesting thing that I was going to ask you about, because I think your journey reminds me of common theme that's going to come across my sort of looking into this area of how we've kind of gendered a bit trading. And as some people say, there is no such thing as gendered trading, but I think there is, because I mean, behind the screen everybody's the same in theory, but actually if you look at people's lives, a lot of the time there's a different way to approach it, and also there's kind of like a space that sometimes doesn't quite happen the same for everybody, men and women. For example, the kind of general culture is that men do still less work in the home, and so.
You mean a good old boy network?
Yeah,
that's what we call it here in the South.
Yes, and
we call it the good old boy network.
You're not the first to say that in these interviews.
Oh,
so
really?
obviously it exists, and yeah. So I think that once you once you kind of break away from the idea that everybody's the same, and actually start looking behind, and yes, there are some cases where people swap roles, and that is really a driving force for change. But still, there's this kind of majority. So I think, because going back to what you said about women winning sort of maybe a trading competition, and because when you look around the room, sometimes it's not quite your space, whoever you are. If you're kind of in minority, it does make you feel like, is this the right? So going back to that confidence thing, do you think that if more, because it's often said that men take lots of risk, and so they blow up their accounts, but they're just more willing to try, but that's a general kind of stereotyping. But let's say
they seem to be willing to go all or nothing, it seems like.
Right.
Men do, for some reason.
Right.
I've had a couple of experiences about that, but anyway.
No, that's fine. So do you feel that if there were more people that look like you, whoever you are, not you personally, but let's say as a woman, if you had more people, you might feel more, not validated, but you might feel less of a the imposter syndrome when you sort of kind of the odd one out. And does that kind of play into it at all, do you think, for women who want to get in the space, or is not really an issue?
Well, it's interesting. I see more and more women in the space, and like one of my favorite people is Alyssa Coram in IBD, and Strat. I forget her first name, but her last name is Strat, the Strat strategy. So there are a lot of women that are doing it, but I went to a local IBD meeting recently. I was the only lady in 12 men. And so I think what you're saying, there's, not as many women that are putting themselves out there. They may be there trading, but they're not maybe as vocal as men. I don't know. It's not something that I've really been worried about, as far as being, I know there has not been a woman that has won the USIC. So I think it would be a novelty to have a woman win, and I think it would be great. And I think it would probably validate women and also maybe encourage more women to get involved in trading or to trust themselves. It's interesting that you should bring that up.
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to put that question at some point. I thought it sort of fitted into that point of the interview, but thanks so much for asking that. And we talked about your trading and sort of where you're at the moment, and you mentioned that you were doing medical exercise as well. How does your trading fit with that, and have you thought of transitioning out of it to trade full time? And do you want to tell us a bit about that?
Actually, I am somewhat trading full time because when 2020, when the COVID crisis came, I had to take my business online, and I had to train my clients online. I'm a yoga instructor as well as a medical exercise specialist. So I had to work with my clients through Zoom. I mean, I transitioned quickly to Zoom, which was a good thing. And then when, the market had that V-shaped recovery, it was incredible. And I was a genius. It just was the right time. I really wasn't a genius. I wish I knew then what I know now, because I never got more than 50% invested. I should have been levered up. I should have been on margin, but I still did quite well, better than I'd ever done in the markets. And so it was a great year. And so, so I had more and more money to manage. And the more that I've gotten into this, the more I love it. I love the game. I love studying. I love charts. I mean, I could just scroll through chart after chart after chart. It's just it just gets in you. And so I felt like it wasn't really fair to my clients, that I couldn't wait to finish my session and go check my account or go trade or go, whatever. And so, so I quit taking clients where I had to go to them, and I have a studio at home. So the clients were coming to me. Okay. And then I started to just phase out of the medical exercise. I still love teaching, and I love teaching yoga. So I mostly teach yoga and mindful exercise. And a thing called yoga nidra, which is a sleep-based meditation technique. And that is, I want to try to combine the two in some way, because I don't want to give that part of my life up completely. And so if I can meld the two together, that's what I would like to do. I would like to help traders with their mindset, with mindfulness, and maybe even exercise. I mean, how we're sitting at our desk like this all day, we got neck issues and everything, so I would like to, maybe do something in that area. I haven't really approached it too much lately, but had a lot of other stuff going on. But anyway, it would be nice to meld those two together. And if I could bring that to help traders, I would love to do that.
So let's move on exactly to that point, the mindful trading solutions. Where did this the idea for that came, as you say, to try and sort of put together those interests and kind of help traders using your expertise in sort of yoga and so do you where do you hope, if I said just something like in 5 years time, where would you hope to be with that kind of let's call it a project. It's probably less than, but
Well,
accurate. But yes.
one of the places where that came from was I was taking a trading psychology course, and the psychologist, or I guess he's a psychologist who wrote the book and was teaching the course. He told traders that you need to write down how you feel, And I realized that not very many people really know how they really have a hard time getting in touch with their feelings. I mean, I was always told I wasn't allowed to feel, it was either, just suck it up, life's that way, don't have a feeling, and so I thought, how hard is that? Especially, I'm sorry, I don't want mean to genderize this, but especially for men, I think sometimes to, know what an emotion is, besides being angry or happy or sad, but there's a whole range of different emotions that affect our trading.
Yeah.
And so there's some techniques that you can learn to actually go in and, begin to recognize emotions. And the more you can recognize those emotions when they're happening, and especially in trading, then you can stop you can almost tell when something's about to happen. Like for me in my trading day, when I'm sitting there and I'm scrolling through and I'm feeling like I have to have something to buy, I know it's not going to end well. I don't know if you've ever done that before, but you're in a whole different type of trading. But for me, I'll start scrolling through the charts. I've got to buy something today. I've got to buy something today. But if I could feel that coming on, or I can recognize that and know that that's a danger area, or that's an emotion or something that is going on there, that I can kind of do a stop check and say, okay, you can even feel it in your body. You can begin to recognize these emotions when they well up in your body.
Yeah.
Before they even come to your mind. You can actually train yourself to sense some emotions that might affect your trading in a negative way.
Yeah. I was hearing interviews
Did
recently.
I answer your question? I'm
Absolutely,
not sure if I answered the question.
Thank you. No, that's great. I was hearing interviews recently where people said, as examples, there was one, when I feel like I'm becoming invincible in trading, I just stop, get away off the screen, switch off, and leave, because that's when you make mistakes. And the other one was somebody saying, if I make 3 mistakes, I just stop for the day, or I just go for a jog and just leave it, because then it resets your brain to being objective about your actual abilities or what's happening, or that kind of fear of missing out. Yeah, definitely. I used to trade Forex a lot, and that there was a lot of not trending, and so you sort of scroll through all the Forex pairs trying to find something to buy and sell, just go long or short, and a lot of it was kind of a bit random, because all this is going up on the 5-minute, 15-minute, 30-minute, 1 hour, but then you sort of zoom out onto the daily and go, no, that's not really going up. So, but the first phase it was very dopamine based, so you just kind of like, oh, I'm going to trade this. So I've blown up quite a few small accounts, just trying to trade up with leverage, etc. Just really not really being from a mobile phone as well, but you can't really see properly what's going on. You're sort of candle by candle almost, so not scalping, but so yeah, no, I get that. We are
I think we have to recognize that what you said about dopamine. There's a book called Dopamine Nation, excellent book, but I think a lot of us traders can fall into that dopamine hit, trying to get that dopamine hit with trading, and I have to check myself on that sometimes, for sure.
Do you feel that it never goes away?
I don't know. I'm not to the end of my life. I'll let you know.
That's a deep thought to finish on, because we've got about 5 minutes. So I'm just going to try and wrap things up a little bit with a question really about you've mentioned in the kind of pre-show kind of notes, and you mentioned that you'd like to sort of bridge that gap between the information out there for the kind of experienced or the investor, if you're an experienced trader, and the sort of novice. Yeah. So
the novice and the pro.
Yeah. Do you want to maybe make a comment about that, or what your thoughts on that, Tonia?
Well, I'm simple-minded, and so um, sometimes when you're studying from some of the pro traders, they get into some higher concepts of math and things like that, which I haven't found for me is 100% necessary to be a good trader. And also they sometimes when I was trying to learn, I was looking for information, and people were using acronyms, and there was so much that I didn't understand, and I had to go look for people. And I guess that's why it made sense when I followed these kids, these crypto trading kids at first, because they, explain things like you would explain it to a 10th grader, or something like that. So, so it helped me to understand the concepts. And one of the things that I think that there's a gap. There's a gap there, because it seems like the pros want to a lot of times teach the pros. I know there are a lot of good trainers out there and teachers, but the pros a lot of times are teaching at a pro level. And then there's the beginning level. And I feel like I like to take complicated concepts and try to bring them down to a level where a fifth grader would understand.
Right.
And so most of the things that I've done so far have been when a friend asked, how do you set up volume indicators on your chart? And I think I have a way of slowing things down to the point where somebody can pick it up. Now, some people might have to put me in fast forward, because I talk so slow or I repeat myself or whatever. But I think that I could fill a gap, if I took the time to teach more of trading concepts to beginners. And so
people can find you on, where can people find you for content and just kind of your channels?
My Twitter is T underscore trades, TEA underscore trades, at T trades. That's at Twitter. And then my YouTube channel is Tonia Hayes 977, and it's TONIA HAYES 977 is my YouTube channel. And then my Trading View channel is T trades.
Thank you. That's very helpful, and I'll put those in the video description, so we've got all that, and also some of your kind of books and recommendations and things. Is there anything else you'd like to finish on? Maybe thoughts on the market as it is now, or where your thoughts on 2023?
Well, I think one of the things that I'm learning is that not every style works in every market. You have to wait for the fat pitch. You have to wait for your style of trading to work. And, there's times when value investing works, buying off the bottom. But there's a time when I'm a breakout trader, and a trend trader, stage analysis. I want something in a stage 2 uptrend. And I just have to realize in this market, it hasn't been a breakout trade market. And so I have to keep from, the biggest thing is risk control. So just know your style instead of style drifting, because what happens is I could go to a different style, and then my style comes back around and I'm over here.
Yeah.
I'm over here on this different style, because now I wanted to learn how to day trade, because day traders are probably doing good with volatility.
Yeah.
And so just stay in your lane, learn something and learn it well. That's what I'm learning, just to stay in my lane and just realize, it's not a breakout trading atmosphere right now. And it will come back around. So I would just say, learn something and learn it very well.
Very wise words to finish on, actually, Tonia. So very true words. I don't know if you've spoken. Well, thank you very much for taking time to come and talk to us, and I look forward to seeing more content on your channels.
Can I interview you
Uh,
sometime?
yeah, sure, we can talk about it.
Has anyone interviewed you yet?
No.
Okay,
So
well, good. Well, maybe we need to do that. So I
I
bet
guess,
your viewers would love that. And thank you for everything that you do. I've enjoyed your work.
thank you. And it's a pleasure talking to you tonight. So yeah, thanks again, and look forward to publishing this video soon.
Okay, thank you.
Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.